We're live. Hey, Sherren, thank you for joining us, people of the internet. We've got Sherren Lee, director from Toronto. What's up, Sherren?
Hi, how's it going?
Good. You were nominated by Brian Grau, who did Last Call Lenny. And
Oh,
Brian Grau was the writer on Last Call Lenny. So that's how we got to you.
yes, Brian. Yes, we met at the Palm Springs Shorts Fest a couple of years ago, where my previous film, Benjamin, screened, and his previous film, Last Call Lenny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So both great films. Today we're going to be talking about your film, The Things You Think I'm Thinking. This is
That's
your
right.
latest work, The Things You Think I'm Thinking. So already you've got a really great provocative title. And on the show, you know, as I just mentioned, we're talking about everything but the business side. We're really trying to go deep into the passion and the purpose of art, right? That's where it begins.
For sure.
Would you
Yeah,
agree with that?
for sure. You gotta have that. Otherwise you can't make movies.
Right? So focusing on that and really speaking to the passion behind. And do you mind if I just play the film in the background behind us? No
Yeah.
audio, obviously. Okay,
Oh,
cool.
actually, I don't know if I can do that
Because it's
still,
happens.
just because of that's yeah. Yes, that's
Understood,
right.
understood, understood, understood. No worries. So here comes the business to control the
Yes, I
passion, but no
know.
worries, no worries, no worries. We can deal with that. So we can still talk. So,
Cool.
what really made you want to make this movie? And really speaking of the passion behind
Well,
this project.
um, I worked with the screenwriter Jesse Levercombe, who's also one of the leads in the film, who plays Caleb, previously, and he brought me the script. So he wrote the screenplay, and when I read the first draft, I just thought this was a very unique story, and
Jersey?
I wanted.
The
Sorry,
screenwriter, which character is he?
Caleb.
Oh,
Yes, so he is actor, screenwriter, very talented guy,
no, I know, but
and
who is Caleb in the movie? I don't remember the name.
oh, Caleb. Oh, Caleb is the other guy, the guy that he goes on the date with.
So Caleb's the younger of the two, the 25-year-old, not the.
Yes, that's right. Yeah,
Gotcha. Okay, cool. All right,
yeah.
so that's Caleb. So he wrote it. Gotcha.
Yeah. So he actually met Prince in the theater community. Prince, who plays Sean, our lead,
Got it.
and Sean's character, or Prince, he has been a theater actor for a long time, and the accident happened not too long ago, about 5 years ago, and then he just started coming back to acting. And he had never done film or TV before, so Jesse met him and wanted to tell a story that, and we developed the script for a year. And for me,
Yeah,
it
but
was
that's all like to cut you off a little bit. Like that's all like the logistics of it, and I get it. And you know, I mean, the stories about like essentially a guy, you know, purportedly he has some sort of an accident, and he's really very different than you and I. And he's handicapped in some ways, and he goes out with a handsome other young man.
Mhm.
And they have this affair that turns into something, and it gets kind of weird and awkward, and they overcome it. But so, and it's all about the things you think I'm thinking. The passion, right? The passion, like what you know, not with the logistics side of it, but
Right.
like
Sorry.
meaning. What the hell did you guys want to say with this movie? What's the
So,
message? What's the social value?
yeah, so for me, I really wasn't interested in making a movie that was, talking about somebody who's differently able and who has a terrible life and seeing them struggle. Like for me, I really wanted to talk about, see somebody who's almost thriving, I mean, and has their struggles, but you know, someone who actually can live a has friends, has a nice apartment, can go out and have a drink. And I think that the opportunity to have Prince in this film was huge, because the stuff that he has gone through is right there on his body, and it's impossible for him to hide what he's gone through, the terrible tragedy that he's gone through. But I think for most of us, our baggage is not right there on our face. Our baggage is inside of us, and we're not able to show everybody that we meet what we've gone through and what has scarred us and what we've gone through. So I think that what we really wanted to say with the film is that, while we all have our shit, we all have our baggage, whether or not they're on the surface. And we judge people based on their appearances. We have, immediate, instinctual, comfort, discomfort, fear, all kinds of stuff attached to images. But at the end of the day, those are assumptions, and the things that you think that I'm thinking about you are just projections of your own past, and you're likely wrong about where I stand.
Yeah, beautiful. Because that's really what the movie gets down to, is that here this character that in terms of the story had some sort of nebulous accident, has this visually different look than the rest of us. His arms are partially missing, and the things that he thinks this other person may be thinking about him, this other person isn't thinking. And I think the movie, to me, was that one moment where it wasn't the sort of the climactic moment. It was the moment after that climactic moment where Caleb is sitting with his back turned to the character, right?
Mm-hmm.
And which is a great shot, and to deliver that line. And the line he delivers is, you don't know me.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So all these projections, and that's what's so cool, and that's what I really enjoyed about the movie, is that this taking all of us in this human soup that we're all in every day, and we're coming to the judgments we have of our own selves about how others may judge us, and getting mixed in this day-to-day thing, and what's reality. Well, we don't really know until we ask, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think that moment when he's just like, you don't know anything about me, like the moment that character realizes that he's maybe crossed the line, and he realizes he's committing the same crime that he's accusing the other person of doing. Right. And yeah, you're right. I hope that the film encourages people to be a bit braver and more honest. And yeah, you don't know until you ask what the other person is thinking.
Right. Well, and that's ultimately the point, and that's the point, of too, and it's really difficult. I think filmmakers, working on the show, and I don't know, you made me around 20th person that I've interviewed, and it's really hard. Like, filmmakers, artists are not conditioned to talk about like projects. They just don't know how to do it. And it's like, yeah, let's get into that conversation. And it's similar to I'm thinking. It's like we think we have to be these professional kind of things to get these careers going.
Yeah.
The more interesting thing, at least to me, is what's really motivating the art and that human with the films that we're making.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's something that we lose touch of, but I think it's what also keeps us going, because it's such a precarious thing we've chosen to do, and without, you really do have to care about something and want to say something, because it is a difficult path, and being able to say these things and, maybe influence one audience member to think about the world a little bit differently, or their lives a little bit differently, I think that's why we do it, and it's awesome when it does happen. Yeah.
Exactly, that's the reward, and like you're saying, it's ultimately got to be a personal message. You know, you really have to have experienced that message to have it come through.
For sure, I think so. And but I'm also very interested in very universal themes. I think that
Of course.
at the end of the day, same thing with this film, I think at the end of the day, we're all the same, even though our struggles are different, but I think we have the ability to empathize and to see that we're not alone in our struggles. And um, I think that's what the power of film is to see, recognize yourself in stories, but also see stories that you would encounter, like someone like Prince. I've never met anybody like him before I worked on this project. And just working with him, seeing him, um, has changed me, and I hope it changes people. One of the things that an audience member told me that made me really happy is that while they were watching the film, at first it's a bit shocking to see him, but then you kind of forget about it. You kind of forget his appearances because he just feels like a normal guy, and you see the beauty in him and in his life. And I think that's really powerful.
Yeah, and in that way, his name's Prince, right? And
Yeah.
in that way, Prince has an advantage in all of us in that he has so much more scarring or baggage or whatever it is that he's carrying forward that, you know, you have to accept that, and you are more curious and you can move on about that, where it's more easy for us to hide, like you were saying initially, and it's much more challenging for him to hide.
Yeah. I mean, I can't say that all of his problems are right there. I'm sure there's
Of
a lot of
course, of course.
lot that you can't see. But it's for sure something that he isn't able to hide. For
Yeah,
sure that he has to live with every day.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. All right, thank you.
Yeah.
So question number two, what's
Yeah.
the biggest thing you learned making this film?
Oh, the biggest thing I learned. Wow. There's always a lot of lessons.
Yeah, just rattle them off.
I think that it's it was a really big challenge to get this film made. It was funded by the Toronto Arts Council, which we got 11,000 Canadian dollars to make the film. So it was quite difficult to put it together, and we had all these volunteers come out, and we were not able to pay people a lot, and we had very limited resources. And I think that was the biggest challenge, is how little we had to make this work. But I think that, as a filmmaker, I think I learned to be just so prepared because you have to go in, you don't have a lot of time, you need to know exactly what you need for your story to work, get that, move on, and just be really grateful for everyone's hustle. And I know that's like kind of a logistical thing,
That's okay.
um, but like this project has lots of lessons, just even working with Prince. And from my first meeting with Prince, telling him, you gotta be our bullshit detector because we don't know this your story as much as you do. So anything that doesn't feel right, um, you have to let us know. And he was just the best and so easy to work with, and not just he just came as an actor, and many times just kind of let me direct him, even though I knew that he didn't really need. Um, it's hard to explain, but I think learning to work with him, and I think every actor is different. So I love working with actors, is my favorite thing. So meeting new actors, working with different actors is always a challenge and a learning process, because you got to learn everybody's process and what they respond to. So that was a big element of growth for me.
Well, I get it. So I think what you're saying with Prince is, on one hand, you're uncomfortable directing him because this is his life. He knows what he's doing. But on the other hand, you're directing him into a story. And the story is where you come into play, and you know that story, and it's a team. So you guys have to work as a team.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing. He was so open to me being like, "Okay, can you be more upset here?" Or like, remember that, just little cues. And yeah.
What are a couple of things you pass on to young directors to best work with young or experienced actors? A couple handy rules that you live by.
You know what? I think a really important thing, if you can do it, is go to acting classes. Do it yourself.
Yeah.
I wanted to be an actor before I directed for the first time. So my whole life I wanted to act, and then I directed a play, and then I never acted again. But I think just knowing what they have to go through and how they think, and I think learning their language is important, but also realizing that every actor is a human being, and there's no one rule for everyone. Everyone works differently, and you just have to trust them. They want to. They have a skill, and they know they do their homework too. But at the end of the day, they also just really want to give you what you want. So if you can be clear, and that's the best.
Being clear, that's huge. So knowing what you want, being clear.
Yeah.
So, one of the technical things you mentioned as learning is you said that being super organized, and, that's, I think, goes without saying. And oftentimes, people go in, they bite off more than they can chew, and it's difficult being organized until you've had a few times at it. So I can certainly attest to that experience. But at the same time, I feel it's really important to go in and have a certain amount of freedom to be spontaneous and find things in the moment. So how do you balance that if you try to?
It's interesting. I think that because people always say, you got to prep, and then let it all go, right? Because production is a crazy place, and all kinds of things happen or don't happen. There's a car accident, or some equipment didn't make it, or all that kind of thing, all those things that you need to adapt to. But I think what I mean when you have to be prepared is you got to know your story, and you got to know all the beats that you need. But outside of that, you can be flexible. So as long as you know how the story will be put together and how the beats will line up, then you're golden, you have your bones, right? And then you can play. And I love playing on set. I love, if I have time. On this production, I had less time, but when there's more time, you can spend more time playing with your actors. That's the best part, discovering things on set. When the magic happens, that's the best, and stuff that you can't plan for, but you just keep pushing. If you know your characters really well, if you know your story really well, you can push it deeper and finding more richness to it without changing course. Does that make sense?
Of course, yeah, absolutely. So beats and know your character.
Yeah.
Where you want to go with them.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. All right. Well, last question. How have you changed after making this film?
Yeah, definitely. I think that just for the simple thing of working with Prince, I think it's made me more open and comfortable with around people who are different than me, and you know, I remember meeting Prince for the first time, and I was like, oh my goodness, how am I gonna say hi? Like, I can't shake his hand.
Yeah.
And he just came in and gave me a huge hug. And
Hmm.
I think that we're afraid of people who look different or who, you know, have disabilities because we don't know how to be around them. We don't want to say the wrong thing or, you know. Um, but just again, like being reminded that, oh, he's just a regular person like everybody else.
It
Yeah, I think
opened you
that's.
up.
Mhm.
That's cool. Yeah, well, I mean, is great in the role, and he seems like a very strong person in life.
Mhm.
And it sounds like you guys had a wonderful experience. And this film is movie. You did a great job with it, and so did the cast.
Thank you so
And
much.
look forward to more from Sherren Lee.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Okay. Thanks, Sherren. All right, till next time. We're out on Play It Forward.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Later. Bye, Sherren. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in this week. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe and leave us a like and or a comment. It makes a big difference. Play It Forward is brought to you by Digipops, where we're building a community to put film and filmmaker discovery in your hands. Here, filmmakers and fans, the creative class, recognizes each other fairly and transparently through a community-curated film festival each quarter. It's coming soon. Thank you.